Paolo Von Schirach is the president of the Global Policy Institute here in Washington, D.C., and I asked him what were some of the big takeaways from this year's two sessions.
It's the attempt to reassure the world that things are going well. In other words, there are concerns that have been voiced in the international business and financial press in particular that China somehow is perhaps losing altitude a little bit, that things are slowing down, that the spat with the United States, which may be on its way to resolution, has hurt China. That's the perception, and therefore there's a sense of saying, no, things are fine. Things are moving along, and we are continuing to capably direct the Chinese economy. There will be more investments, more loans, with more kind of gestures towards the private sector, and in particular to reassure foreign investors.
So that being said, how closely was the international community, then the business community, watching the two sessions, especially when they were looking for the GDP numbers for the upcoming year and what they were saying about foreign investment?
Well, exactly. I think that's probably the thing that foreign observers are looking at. Are things going to be a little easier for us? The perception that there is a kind of two different streets, one for domestic investors and one for foreign investors. The foreign investors somehow are penalized, that there are forced technology transfers, that they have more administrative hurdles and whatnot. And I guess they got some nods to that effect, that China is open for business, that there's no clamp down on foreigners, and that the economy is growing, that the shift from exports to domestic consumption is continuing, and that is continuing successfully. And last point is that the real estate market is probably going to be lifted a little bit by more loans to developers.
Domestically, a couple of other big issues that China has been working on for some time, pollution and cleaning up pollution as well.
It's getting a lot better. I mean, if we look at China, what it was a few years ago, I mean, comparatively speaking, while not perfect, it's getting better.
And there's this race to reach 2020 with getting rid of all poverty, especially at the rural levels. There's this big goal of poverty alleviation.
Well, of course, on this, China has done extremely well over a very long period of time. And it can proudly say, look, we have lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, of course, over many years, but many years of spectacular growth. And I don't know, depending on who you ask, 400 million, 500 million, even 700 million people who have moved from the rural areas into the cities mostly, or in bigger towns, and have been, now live what we would call here a middle-class life. And that is an extraordinary achievement of probably unprecedented proportions. If we look back in history, I don't think we find anything analogous. Of course, there's still pockets of poverty, but I think the government has plans.